Welcome. Welcome to Horror Stories Live. I do this almost every Tuesday. Didn't do it last Tuesday. I was sick all week. Missed Tuesday, Thursday, missed the regular Sunday show. It was a real cluster. So, how are you guys doing? Alan, I'm always flattered that you stay up this late because my wife just went to bed and we're an hour behind you. You're both teachers, so thanks. Uh, I can admit mental problems, Jake. It's called fibrofog, man. It's called fibrofog. Monty, there's a fly in here. Guy has one job. One job. All right. You know, let's see. Next week, my family's going to New York. I will be here by myself. Well, my mom will be here, but my wife and my son will be out of town for the Thanksgiving holiday. But next Tuesday I will do a show, and you know what? I might do a show next Thursday too, and I'm pretty sure I'll do a show on Sunday. So just to let you know what's coming up, Kim, Mark, Jake, Alan, thanks guys. I'm gonna read. I was looking for short stories in the public domain earlier today, and I thought, why not read a few no sleep slash creepypasta things? They're real short, so I'm going to read several of them. It always amazes me people who do these. Um, Hopefully, they're not ripping it off from books, but I don't think the majority of them are. But anyway, the people who do these just for the love of telling the story, um, I think that's great. All right, so let's get started. All right. Alan, you will like this one. Hey, Kelly. Daddy, I had a bad dream. You blink your eyes and pull up on your elbows. Your clock glows red in the darkness. It's 3:23 a.m. Do you want to climb into bed and tell me about it? No, Daddy. The oddness of the situation wakes you up more fully. You can barely make out your daughter's pale form in the darkness of your room. Why not, sweetie? Because in my dream, when I told you about the dream, the thing wearing mommy's skin sat up. For a moment, you feel paralyzed. You can't take your eyes off of your daughter. Then the covers behind you begin to shift. Told you they were short. Now, you guys, th- sorry, folks, these guys decide right now that Jupiter's got to go out, and so does Monty's got to get out of the. Anyway, you don't need the particulars. I'll be right back. All right, Jupiter. Going out, buddy? There you go. Okay, Monty. All right, sorry about that. Are we live? Yes, we are. Yeah, yeah. By the way, speaking of old internet classics, well, old classics, not internet classics. Uh, if you're in the mood for some more horror after you're done listening to me, you all know I'm a fan of old time radio horror. I think some of the best are the Hall of Fantasy. Be sure you listen to the ones with um, the Ritz. The way you can tell best is once they got their introduction right. where it sounded more professional. Then the stories got a lot better, and they're some pretty good stories and some great voice acting. Um, a weird fiction old-time radio horror show, although I'm sure they wouldn't have called it that, is the show Quiet Please. Has a lot of what I would call weird fiction short stories in it. And there are a few that did not get preserved very well, and they're hard to listen to, but they're worth it, and it's only a few. Um, I don't have the list in front of me, but I could give you a list. Um, I'll tell you the one that everyone cites from Quiet Please is the thing on the board, which is, I think, very overrated. So actually, I'm gonna give you a quick list of what I think are the best ones, and then we'll get to the next story, okay? You can go to quietplease.org and then click on episodes. Now, the first one, called Nothing Behind the Door, is really good. It's difficult. It's like I said, the audio is not the best. What else here? I'm just going to do three or four. Uh, yeah, Rain on New Year's Eve. That's a good one. Rain on New Year's Eve. And incidentally, that was broadcast on December the 29th, 1947. So nothing behind the door, Rain on New Year's Eve. And let's go with, yeah, give me a second. I'm looking for the Other Side of the Stars is pretty damn good. Uh, yeah, and the notes here say it kind of continues thoughts from Nothing Behind the Door. And then there's one other that is just the very best. Oh yeah. The fourth one I'll recommend is called Northern Lights. So again, go to quietplease.org and click on episodes, and he's cleaned up some of these episodes, and you can have a choice of listening to it noise reduced versus original. Anyway, that's that. Oh, hey, Chess. Okay, I got to read this one, even though it's a similar theme, because there's a funny response to it on Reddit. So here it is. I was sitting in my room on my computer one afternoon when I heard my mom call me from downstairs. I go downstairs and I start talking to my mother. I then get a call on my cell phone from my mom's phone. I look at her and say, "Hold on a sec, Mom." When I answer, I hear my mom's voice yelling, "Get out of the house! Get out right now! It's not me." The reply that I think is funny is, "Thank you for giving me the idea for the best prank ever." I don't know how you'd pull that off. So, oh, and this one cracks me up. This one cracks me up. You're the only person left in the world. You hear a knock on your door. Okay, I think we've all heard that story, but this 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 guy says this short story is from a friend of mine. No, no, it's from a story called Knock, I believe, 1947. Monty, what are you doing? Pick now to go crazy. All right. What else do we got here? Oh, okay. A few months ago, a friend of mine, who is an up and coming photographer, decided to spend a day and night alone in the woods outside of our town. She wanted to get photos of the woods and wildlife as naturally as she could for her portfolio. She wasn't afraid of being alone as she had camped by herself many times before. She set up a tent in the middle of a small clearing and spent the day taking pictures. She filled up 4 rolls of film on that trip, but when she went and got them developed, she saw 4 pictures that unsettled her. Those 4 pictures were taken from inside the tent of her, asleep in the middle of the night. Yeah. Um, some of these are pretty good. One sec. Sorry about that. Got hot. I'm gonna have to. This can't be true. Leon Z- Zolgost, I'm positive I'm saying that wrong, assassin of William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, I should have Googled this ahead of time, was electrocuted for his crime on October 29, 1901 at Auburn Prison in Auburn, New York. They thought that name through. Among the personal effects found in his cell was a U.S. quarter stamped with the date 2218. The face in profile on said quarter was not George Washington, but rather a face which has yet to be identified. I don't know what that means. I should have read that one through first. Yeah, Leon Shoggoth. Man, Monty is going crazy. There are a few of these wearing mommy's skin stories on here. By the way, I'm on Reddit. In France, a young ambient musician by the name of Charles undertook an interesting new project. He was going to record the sound of himself sleeping. Why is that interesting? And release it under the name La Nuit, the night. Charles lived alone in a rural area, which would remove things like car alarms, traffic, and such from being recorded. He planned his project for many months. Uh, how many months do you need to plan for a project like this? Acquiring the sensitive equipment to capture all outside noises, as well as his own during sleep. Finally, on the 27th of September, he decided to execute his plan. He set up all his equipment and fell asleep at midnight. The next day, Charles reviewed the recording. For the first hour, the recording played his own tossings and turnings, as well as some distant dog barks and a few car alarms. So much for his plan to distance himself from cars. These continued through the second hour as well until Charles heard something that horrified him. For at exactly 3 hours and 24 minutes in, the recording played the sound of his bedroom opening. All right, now that one got me. That's pretty good. And interesting, on this particular page, they repeat the Candle Cove kids show. Um, that was a good season. Did you guys see that? All right. In Berlin after World War II, money was short, supplies were tight, and it seemed like everyone was hungry. At that time, people were telling the tale of a young woman who saw a blind man picking his way through a crowd. The two started to talk. The man asked her for a favor. Could she deliver the letter to the address on the envelope? Well, it was on her way home, so she agreed. She started out to deliver the message when she turned around to see if there was anything else the blind man needed. But she spotted him hurrying through the crowd without his smoked glasses or white cane. She was naturally suspicious, so she went to the police. All right, I got to stop there again. She went to the cops and said, "This guy gave me a letter, and I don't think he's blind. Can you guys get on that right now?" All right. When the police paid a visit to the address on the envelope, they made a gruesome discovery. Three butchers had been harvesting human flesh and selling it to the starving people. And what was in the envelope the man gave to the woman? A note saying simply, "This is the last one I am sending you today." Chaz, even I don't know what Reddit page I'm on. Let's see here. Yeah, I like that one. That was pretty good. I also like the bad ones because then we can make fun of them. You guys keep posting the exact same creepy pasta every 2 weeks. All right, let's see what else we can find. Let's see what else we can find. Short creepy pasta. If this is a pasta, creepy pasta only night. You know why? Because Danielle made spaghetti for dinner. Get it? I like this 2 sentence one. I loved how my wife used to wake me up by whispering sweet nothings into my ear every morning. I didn't enjoy her pillow talk as much the day after her funeral. All right, intervention, this is called. We should have a Reddit page. Um, Someone should do that. All right, to tell you the truth, I needed to drink. I would have a hard day at work and I would go to the bar and let the alcohol wash away my thoughts, especially if it was a single malt alcohol, scotch. It was cathartic. My daughter, wife, and friends would always lay into me when I got home for stinking of alcohol. They would bitch at me saying that I just wasn't the person they thought I was when I went out drinking and could I be I could be such a better person. They would always be lying in wait for me when I got home. I would walk through the door and find a group of my family and friends waiting for me. They would always ambush me with prepared letters about how my drinking made them feel, which of course was always bullshit as they didn't give me appropriate time to form my own argument to theirs. Good point. There wasn't much I could do under their relentless assault. I'd always let them cry and rage against me. How many interventions has this guy had? Afterwards, I would tell them I would change and find the strength to quit. A few weeks later, I would down a fifth of Jack Daniels and wash away my thoughts, and the process would begin again. They would organize another meeting, and I would keep making empty promises because I knew it was better than the alternative. When I was sober, I kept imagining them on hooks, Jesus, pleading and begging for sweet release. I'd imagine their flesh and how it would be so appealing to slice open and tear apart. If I was this guy, I'd drink too. They want me to quit drinking, but without it, I keep imagining the end. I'd imagine how they would plead and how they would taste. I think this last intervention really stuck. I feel like myself again. I have to go ahead and give that story a thumbs down. Well, let's see here. These stories are free, and some of these we overpaid. Yeah. Oh, here's a good two-sentence. When the worst part of living with roommates was hearing them moving around the house at all hours of the night, the worst part of living alone is still hearing those exact same sounds. What else do we got? I think this page is a bust. Ooh, this page is under investigation. There you go. All right. All right. In the summer of 2013, yeah, Chaz, I just saw what you wrote. Yeah, that's a real thing. That's happened. People living in your house without you knowing it. Um, Especially if you live in Florida. That's what I hear. In the summer of 2013, I found myself driving home alone on Highway 902 from a party. It was almost midnight, and needless to say, it was pitch black. Needless to say, yes. As was usual at night, I was on edge. I had the radio off and could hear nothing but the muffling roar of tires on pavement and the dull hum of the engine. I stole a glance into the middle rear view. You know what? This one sucks. I'm not even going to go through this one. So much for not reading these ahead of time. And this is a best of page that I'm on now. These guys could use an editor. And here we go. The rainy season began in early summer, and June had been no exception. It had not surprised there. Wait a minute. The rainy season began in early summer, and June had been no exception. Summer doesn't start till about June 21st. Okay, I'll keep reading. Yeah, I think this is my first and last time reading Creepypasta. It had not surprised the man when he had discovered rainwater dripping from his dining room ceiling. Shrugging it off, he placed a tall pot beneath the leak and expected it to stop on his own. However, it continued to rain, and before he knew it, the pot would threaten to overflow. It's weird how that happens. He had to dump the water out first thing in the morning and straight after he returned home from work. Eventually, he began to notice water damage at the source of the leak. The white ceiling had discolored, turning a dull shade of brown. He checked the weather and realized that it would continue to rain sporadically over the next 10 days. The man was worried about the ceiling becoming an expensive repair, so he called a local handyman. Unfortunately, the man could not sign to have the repairs done, only his landlord could. It was a frustrating policy. The man called his landlord but could not reach him. He left him a few voicemails detailing how the damage was becoming progressively worse. The man was clueless as to why his landlord would not return his calls. They usually kept in touch, speaking at least twice a month. Uh-huh. Finally, he reasoned that he would not be held accountable for any damages sustained. No kidding. One night, the man was startled awake by a massive thump. He quickly turned on his bedside lamp, and just vaguely he could see an overturned table and a large shape laying across it. He sprinted out of his apartment and called the police, gagging at the smell. The man sat in the police station later with a blanket wrapped around his shoulders and a coffee mug resting in his hands. He did know one thing. There had been a dead body in his ceiling, and the water had saturated it so badly that it caved under the weight. So far, the body was unidentifiable due to the rain and was being autopsied. Good policy. While the man waited, he called his landlord and finally reached him, panicking as he explained the situation. His landlord was just as alarmed, and the man pleaded with him to come to the station while he made his statement. The man paused as the detective crossed over to him and he lowered his phone, wondering if the body had been identified. I see where this is going. His blood ran immediately cold and he shook his head with terror. The body belonged to Richard Thompson, his landlord, and he had died over a year ago. But that's not what disturbed him most. If his landlord was dead, yeah, you're repeating yourself. Who was pretending to be him? And this is a best of. Some of these are okay. I think I need to find a better best of creepypasta page. I have no doubt. Well, a lot of these are. Kelly says, "Wonder if they used ChatGPT." A lot of these are several years old, but I have no doubt that AI is learning to write creepypasta at a scary pace. Yeah. Um, you know, let's say you use AI to help you write a horror story and you publish it and you get paid or you get credit or you get both, hopefully. Well, not hopefully if you used AI, but you get credit and you get paid. People are like, great story, right? I don't know how anyone can do that, even if they got away with it, you know? Even if nobody said, hey, this reads like an AI bot wrote it. I don't know. I would just couldn't do it. But that's me, I guess. Same thing with AI art. Same thing with AI art. All right, let's see what else I can find. Some of these are fun, but yeah, I think that a lot of creepy pasta must be, cream of the crop stuff. That there's diamonds in the rough. All right, here's a good one. I like time travel. Don't dismiss this outright as the work of some raving Lunatic. There's some sense to this story if you'll just hear me out. Look, we all wonder if time travel is possible, right? Well, let me tell you something it is. I'm from the future, actually. I know you probably don't believe that, but seriously, I'm from the future. It's a really great thing. Getting to see the past, watching events unfold, stuff like that. We know now more than we ever would have before. Behind all the fun, though, there is a more serious aspect. We aren't supposed to go into our own lifetime, and we are never allowed to contact our past selves. Let me tell you, I'm breaking that rule right now. Yes, you're talking to yourself, your future self. I'm going to be executed for this, but you know what? I accept that. I'm preventing something by talking to you that is worse than death. I can't tell you outright what to do because the filters would catch it. This is the closest I can get. Trust me. I can, however, send a little message. You should probably read the first paragraph, the first word of every paragraph. Now. I like it. First word of every paragraph is don't look behind you. All right, I won't. Just be careful out there. This. I've thought about this. I've thought about the uncanny valley, right? And this story illustrates a question that some people have about it. Uh, if you can call it a story, it's more of a little tiny essay. Many classic horror icons, such as Silent Hill's Pyramid Head, other disturbing creatures, share common characteristics. The Scream painting. Pale skin, dark sunken eyes, elongated faces, sharp teeth, and the like. These images inspire horror and revulsion in many, and with good reason. The characteristics shared by these faces are imprinted in the human mind. Many things frighten humans instinctively. The fear is natural and does not need to be reinforced in order to terrify. The fears are species wide, stemming from dark times in the past, when lightning could mean the burning of your tree home, thunder could be the approaching gallops of a stampede, predators could hide in darkness, and heights could make poor footing lethal. The question that you have to ask yourself is this: what happened deep in the hidden eras before history began that could affect the entire human race so evenly as to give the entire species a deep instinctual and lasting fear of pale beings with dark, sunken eyes, razor sharp teeth, and elongated faces? Yes, there's probably a simpler answer, but that's fun to think about. All right. This one is called The Girl on the Train. I live in the UK. A colleague at work heard this from her boyfriend. He works with someone who said that his sister's friend uh, got the last subway train home a couple of weeks ago. When she got on, there were 5 rows of empty seats, but the last row had 3 people sitting in it. As she was a little shy, she went and sat opposite them. She settled down and looked up to see the woman sitting opposite her, staring right at her. So she got out her book and started to read, but every time she looked up, the woman was still staring. The train pulled into the next station and a man got on. He looked up and down the carriage, took a look at her and the people in the opposite seats, and came and sat next to her. As the train left the station, the man leaned back and quietly said in her ear, "If you know what's good for you, you'll get off at the next station with me." She was scared, but thought the best idea would be to get off at the next station as he asked, as there might be people around. The next stop came up and she left the train with this man. The man said, "Thank God. I didn't mean to scare you, but I had to get you off that train. I'm a doctor, and the woman sitting opposite to you was dead. The two men on the other side were propping her up." According to the guy who told this story, the girl and the doctor called the police, who stopped the train at the next station. That's plausible, but it's not that scary. I like the World War end of World War II in Germany, where the blind guy gives the girl a letter to deliver to an address. Huh. Your here's a I'm not going to read this one, but it reminds me um, of a story I read. I'm sure at one time, way before creepypasta was a thing, but I never have remembered where I read it, but it affected me. I know I read it when I was a kid, so sometime in the 80s. But anyway, I w- the story goes something like this: this lady is out at a flea market or antique stores, whatever, and she purchases this. She likes to do puzzles, and the picture puzzles where you fit all the pieces together. What do they call those? Puzzles, something like that. And she buys one, but she asks the guy, "Before I buy this, are the pieces in it? I don't want to, you know, s- put it together, and if there's 50 pieces to it, find out that I've only got 46, something like that." And he's like, "No, all of the pieces are there." So she goes home, and after dark, she is sitting in her living room, and she decides she's going to put this puzzle together. And she's sitting on her couch at her. She's got the puzzle on her coffee table, and big picture window is behind her. You can tell where this is going. And she puts the puzzle together, and the more she puts the puzzle together, the more she's creeped out, and the more she begins to realize that she's actually putting a scene together of her in her living room. And as she fits the last piece of the puzzle into place, snaps it into place, and she sees the face of someone outside the window. And the last sound she hears is breaking glass. I'm sure wherever I read that told it far better than that, but always thought that was a pretty good little story. Let's try this one. This one is called Lights in the Distance. A young man suffering from insomnia was trying to fall asleep one night. After a while, he was still awake as it got more and more late. He turned on his side and looked out the window. Noticing two street lights in the distance, he rested his eyes on them and soon fell asleep. The next night he found himself once again kept awake by a sleep disorder. Remembering the remedy he tried the night before, he turned to his side and looked out the window for the two street lights. He found them and once again fell asleep peacefully. The next night his sleeping troubles were back, but he simply looked out the window for the street lights and rested his eyes on them. Tonight they were flickering every few seconds. He assumed that the bulbs would soon burn out, and as his eyes began to fall shut, the lights finally did burn out. He woke in the morning refreshed. As he got up, he looked out the window toward the street lights, hoping someone would come to fix them. However, as he looked, he noticed something odd. There were no street lights there. He leaned closer to the window to double check, but still the street lights were nowhere to be found. Then he looked down and noticed small claw marks on the windowsill, as if something was perched there. I get it. You're saying that they were the monster's eyes. Uh-huh. Okay. That's Danielle wouldn't like this one. It's about dolls. Yeah, we try one more. Yeah, that's true, Alan. Alan said a lot of creepypastas have the structure of a joke, but with a twist instead of a punchline. Uh, had someone on the show one time several years ago that said, I'm paraphrasing, but that horror and humor were structurally very close in a lot of ways. Um, I'll stop there because I would just end up paraphrasing it badly. All right, this one is called White with Red. A man went to a hotel and walked up to the front desk to check in. The woman at the desk gave him his key and told him that on the way to his room, there was a door with no number on it and this door was locked and no one was allowed in there. She explained that it was a storeroom and that it was out of bounds. She reminded him of this several times before allowing him upstairs. That's right up with, hey, you see that cool tree there in the middle of the garden? The neatest one? Yeah, don't eat from that tree. You can eat from all the other trees, but not that one, all right? Um, now it's the coolest tree, but do not do not drink do not no, don't eat the fruit from that tree. Anyway, the man followed the instructions of the woman, going straight to bed in his room. However, her insistence had piqued his curiosity. See? So the next night he walked down the hall to the door and tried the handle. Sure enough, it was locked. Yeah. He bent down and looked through the wide keyhole. Cold air passed through it, chilling his eye. What he saw was not a storeroom, but a hotel bedroom like his. In the corner was a woman whose skin was incredibly pale. She was leaning her head against the wall, facing away from the door. The man stared in confusion for a while. Was this a celebrity? The owner's daughter? He almost knocked on the door to ask, but decided not to. Yeah, right, Kim. As he was looking, the woman turned sharply. He jumped back from the keyhole, hoping she would not have noticed that he had been spying on her. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day he returned to the door and looked through the wide keyhole. This time all he saw was redness. He could not make anything else out. Excuse me. Besides a distinct, unmoving red color. Perhaps the inhabitants of the room knew he had been spying on them the night before, and had blocked the keyhole with something red. He felt embarrassed that he had made the woman so uncomfortable and hoped she had not made a complaint to the woman at the front desk. Now, why would spying on a woman in her hotel room make her uncomfortable? Wow. That was facetious. In case someone thought it was serious at some point in the near future. Anyway, at this point, he decided to consult her for more information. She sighed and asked, "Did you look through the fucking keyhole?" I added that word. The man told her that he had, and she said, "Well, I might as well tell you the story of what happened in that room. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife there, and we find that even now, whoever stays within gets very uncomfortable." What? But this woman is not ordinary. She is white all over, except for her eyes, which are red. Oh, so you're saying she was looking back at you? Uh-huh. Right. Right. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Oh, I can make it move, Oswald. Look at that. There we go. All right, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this night of creepypasta, which I am pretty sure I will never repeat. Next Tuesday, I will find an M.R. James or something that isn't too long, that's in the public domain, and read. Oh yeah, the next paragraph, Kim, was, and then they exchanged cell phone numbers. They lived happily ever after. Um, yeah, we are not going to repeat creepypasta again, although it's been kind of fun. Uh, I'll find a story in the public domain, classic ghost story, something like that, that will thrill you and chill you. So, so yeah. Thanks, Oswald. We actually do it 12 months a year. That's how dedicated we are. Well, it's Tuesday night. At least if you're watching this live, it's Tuesday night. I hope you guys are having a good week so far. Um, there will be a Thursday night show, as always, at 11 p.m. Eastern. There will be a Sunday show at 6 p.m. Eastern, as usual. And there's no guest this Sunday, so it's just going to be us talking about various horror topics that I've been wanting to bring up. So, yeah, I'm glad you survived Monday, Kim. Anyway, guys, thanks for spending a little time with me on Tuesday night. I hope it made your Tuesday night just a little bit better, and it did for me. And I will see you guys on Thursday night. Good night.